This episode is presented to you by NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you can watch your favorite team's out-of-market Sunday games, plus watch up to 4 games at once with Multiview. Don't miss the race to the playoffs. NFL Sunday Ticket is now just $39 when bundled with YouTube TV, where you get even more football. Visit youtube.com/Spotify offer to sign up now. Lowest price on YouTube TV with base plan. Rest of 2023 season. Terms and embargoes apply. No cancellations.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day. And that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
This episode is brought to you by Columbia Sportswear. It's snowing again, and that wind chill is killer. But you're not worried about that because you shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection. It's warmth perfected with tiny gold dots that reflect your body heat inside and protect you from the cold outside. No snow or chilly temps can stop you now. Go out anyway. Shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection now at Columbia.com/infinity.
Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple. Products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back at it again with another episode of the Shades of Blue Soccer Show. The full gang is here. No Sporting KC game this week, but we have a lot to talk about. The Yanks played. The Yanks played terrible, of course, giving us a lot to talk about. KC Current in the playoffs. So yes, we have a lot to talk about, but I guess let's start off with Sporting KC stuff. We have Seattle Sounders this weekend. Really all left to play for is to spoil things for them, which is a good consolation prize.
Yay.
Indeed.
Yes.
But I think we should just mainly talk about off-season stuff, right? We're so used to the off-season moves coming so quickly after the season is done. So let's just go ahead and start on the back line. Who's staying? Who's going?
Robert, you have any suggestions?
Well, we've all talked years and years about Fontes' contract, have we not? So I would think, since he's out of contract, that he would probably be the one that would be jettisoned. What do you think, fellas?
Jettisoned is the word we're using for Fontes.
Wow.
Like out of a plane?
Yeah, jettison doesn't feel right for him. He played well this year.
That's how it felt last year when so many cuts were made. Boom, boom, boom.
People were indeed jettisoned last year.
It's too soon to talk about Ilya leaving. Okay, well, so let's talk about some things. So Fontes is 32. He makes 1.1 million and change out of contract. But we can't talk about Fontes without also talking about Isimat Marin, who has an option, right? So he's out of contract, but has an option to be picked up. Izzy's 30?
Yes.
He's 30, and he makes $1 million. So he's not substantially cheaper than Fontes. I'd find it hard to believe that the club would get rid of both, I'm using air quotes in an audio medium, starting center backs in the same offseason. Why?
That's $2 million.
That wasn't Cody's fault.
And that was a fine right there, Cody. I'm not even looking your way, man. This was a no look pass,
he
man.
Did. He just no looked me on that fine. Just continue your conversation.
Doesn't that curse you, shall we? Anyway.
Well, I guess, Thad, my question is, when you say why, are you talking philosophically, why, or are we talking practically why?
Take it how you want, lawyer.
Why?
Well, so philosophically, for me, if I'm the technical director, I'm getting rid of both. Maybe offering Fontes a chance to come back on a lower contract, but I'm getting rid of both. I think we need 2 new starting center backs or to give Courtney Ford a chance to start.
So, technical director, do you have a lead on replacements?
Yeah.
Do you do that
the
with
new
a safety
FIFA's
net,
not
or
out
do you
yet.
do it without the safety net? What are we doing here?
The new FIFA's not out. Of course, the team's scouting, right?
Right.
If Brian Bliss and Peter Vermees don't have a lead on who might be a new center back, then we've got problems. We also paid a transfer fee for Volliter. And so if we don't think that he's at some point in the near future going to be the guy, there's also problems.
How many center forwards did we try to sign that just didn't work out? God forbid that happens with center backs.
I mean, I'd argue that that's what has happened this year with center backs. It's a Matt Morin and Fontes haven't worked out this year. But again, I don't think you can talk about what to do on the back line without talking about them as a pairing. The pairing has not worked. So the question is, do you think the club will get rid of one, both, or neither? I think one is what the club will do. Not what they should do, but what they will do.
The argument I always hear about getting rid of one versus two is it'll be hard for two of them to come in and build a new chemistry with each other. Well, you know what? There will still be two players trying to build chemistry with each other if you only get rid of one. It's still the same issue there. So I do. The ultimate decision comes down to who you have in that pipeline to bring in. You got one player to bring in. It's the athletic, speedy guy, buy Izzy. If it's the more controlled passing guy, it depends on who you also have in the six coming in, if you have a six coming in. So if it's a passing kind of center back, then maybe it's Fontes that goes. And in either case, if Fontes stays, it has to be a lower contract. That's my opinion. I'll be quiet now.
Well, the other thoughts are you got Ford as a backup for Izzy.
Yeah.
You don't really have a ready to go in for Andrea Fontes backup. Well, I don't think is the man.
I mean, should Ford be?
Well, definitely not for Fontes and playing the ball around like that.
Right.
No.
Right.
Should Ford be the backup for Izzy? I mean,
or could those two work together? That's another question.
So Izzy's supposed to be our athletic center back. He was supposed to be the heir to the Iko Para, solver of all of our problems.
It's a high bar, though.
It is. But Izzy last year showed a lot of flashes of being that super athletic, almost like sweeper center back. This year, that's not him. The number of open headers he's given up at the back post, the amount of ball watching he's done has been bad. And then he's not contributing. He's a better passer than I think maybe people give him credit for, but his goals added on the year is negative, right? Whereas you compare him to Fontes, and Fontes, who led the league in goals added last year, is still positive. He's fifth in MLS this year, and what we'd consider a down year for Fontes. So, my analysis, even though Izzy's younger, I don't know that he's taking advantage of this addition and, this additional athleticism he's got over Fontes. And at least Fontes is more of a progressive passer and is contributing to the attack more.
Well, the other thing I see here, too, is if we think replacing our center backs is going to solve everything, it's not, as far as defense goes. So that number 6 is a key component, or whatever else changes might be made. But let's think about this, too, that Izzy is not going to reach an Iko Para bar, first of all. Second of all, even if you try to combine Ford and Izzy back in that center line together in some way, because I don't think it's going to work, because we need a left-footed guy in there, and neither one of them are the passer we need to be. What else can you do besides sign a big-time DP center back?
I don't know. You need to sign a big-time DP center back.
Well, if he's DP, he's big-time.
Well, I'm not saying it has to be a DP. I mean,
yeah,
there's a certain dollar amount that rises up to that's not DP, and then you can TAM him and all that type of stuff.
Right,
so
right.
There's some of that comes into play, but again, I don't know which center backs are available. I don't know what they have in that pipeline, so it's really hard to make that decision. But I think there are probably at least some guys out there that are in that 700,000 range that are younger, because that was the other thing about Fontes is he's at that age where he could go downhill in 2 weeks. I mean, like go from playing at his best to done. We've seen that before. Izzy's probably not quite in that age group, but he's also getting up there. So I would like a MLS good quality center back in there, and then we can talk about protecting those center backs a little better in the front of them.
It's also a matter of, what skill set's easier to replace. It's easier to replace the sheer athleticism, somebody who's pacey, than it is to replace somebody who's got the ability to hit a diagonal switch or the ability to hit that incisive pass, right? Also, I think there's a real problem if we're spending DP money on a defender. There's like 2 DPs in the league that are on defense. Like you have to pay for goals. That's how soccernomics works. So,
that was my initial response to that idea of.
Well,
of
I mean,
DPs.
I don't know DP level, but somebody we're going to pay at least as much money as we're paying what we got now.
Someone who would be DP level, but we've bought them down with Tam and Jam, and they're not a DP.
The other thing to consider is that one of the reasons we needed Ike, one of the reasons that we needed Fontes was that Zusi got so far forward and wasn't able to always get back on defense that it was important to have a right-sided center back who could shift over and cover that space that's vacated by Zusi. Well, and this is another conversation for us to have, but I don't know what that team looks like if Zusi's going to be playing that much next year. Caden Pierre looked really solid in the time that he got. Caden Pierre doesn't need as much coverage. He's still getting his legs under him as a defender, but he's so much faster than Zusi, so his recoveries are different. Do you really need the paciest center back on the right side, or are you looking for a different player profile if Caden Pierre is the future?
That might matter how much you decide you're going to high press, too. The more space you're going to leave, the higher line you're going to play, more space you leave behind you. So that might play in there as well. But, yeah, I agree. We've got Ndembe and Pierre, those speedy backs that can cover some issues that maybe couldn't before, for sure.
Is that an option? Is that
I think so.
why this is a question? Okay.
Yeah.
We're not. Yeah, I was going to say, we're not talking about buying him down, right? Okay, yeah, and he was here. He played 2 years, right?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have
2
it pulled
years
up
and
right
then,
in front of me.
yes,
Yeah.
and then the option for the third. Yeah, I'm on keep Fontes and jettison Izzy.
Which is weird because I think a lot of fans would be kind of the opposite of that. I mean, I'm not totally sure, but
Now I am.
A lot of people have blamed Fontes for stuff.
With the stipulation there that he would have to
pay cut.
give us the I love Kansas City discount. I've moved my family here and we've fallen in love. Kansas City discount.
And he does love Kansas City.
He does, because we know that because we interviewed him,
Yes.
and he told us all of that. And you can go listen to that podcast right now.
So Zusi, I think also, since we're talking about the back line, I think Zusi also has an option.
Yes, and we know your opinion on that.
Well, the way you're wording that is it's probably the team's option, not Zuzi's option.
Right. It's a team option. So, and all right, Cody.
I dare you to stand here and say that we should get rid of Graham Zusi. Say it to my face.
So this is the part of the podcast where I'd encourage everybody listening to go to thebluetestament.com, which is the website we write for. We being Thad, Robert, and I, not Cody, where we have an article actually talking about all of these roster decisions. And you can see my personal thoughts on what we should do with Graham Zusi, which is that I think we should actually pick up the option.
Yeah, I read that. I knew all of that information. Well, that's good. So you've come around. Graham Zusi tried hard enough this year, ran hard enough that he convinced you.
It's the cost of the contract is low enough to justify the value. He makes $450,000. So assuming that that's still the value in 2023 or it's substantially similar, it doesn't hamstring us with the cap. There's a value to having a veteran presence. We're presumably going to lose Roger. I'm guessing we're going to lose Roger. Having a veteran guy who knows what PV wants, who can mentor Caden Pierre, who can talk to mentor Logan and Ndembe. There's a lot of value in that.
Mentor from ahead of him or from behind him in the depth chart?
Hopefully behind.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Caden Pierre fan as well. That was a great season for him, but then Graham Zusi also, I think maybe was even better this year than he was last year.
Except for when he was hurt.
Right. Yes, which is also a part of being old. So valid to factor
Amen,
that
brother.
in here.
So just I'm going to throw a little note. I was out at training today. Roger Espinoza is one of the people that we talked to. And in talking to him, he said, because the question was about playing, what do you have left to play for this year? And he said about, we're all playing for contracts next year. He didn't say they are playing for contracts. We are doing it.
That brings us to the midfield.
Roger's always going to be a we.
And did Roger play himself into that contract?
Hold on. We're forgetting somebody on the back line.
Okay, I just felt like that was a natural segue. Yes, we can. Let's go back before we get to the midfield.
You're sweating it.
Who are we? Who are we forgetting?
I think we're all unanimous on it, aren't we?
On Tim?
Oh, I was on.
Ben Sweat's got a guaranteed.
That's technically not a line, but okay.
Well, he's part of the defense. Ben Sweat's got on a guaranteed contract.
Okay, so Tim, the keeper situation. Valid discussion here.
What would you do, Cody?
What would I do?
Would you uproot him?
Or would you trim his contract?
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
Do you chop down Tim's hopes of being here for a while longer?
Keep going. We got any more of those? Somebody else.
No, I think I've cut that one down a lot.
I am torn on the keeper situation. I think we could move on from Tim Melia, but I don't necessarily know that Zendejas is the guy either.
Who?
Oh
no!
What? How much money? How much money does Cody owe all of us? I also don't think Zendejas is the guy.
Considering he's a backup in Minnesota now.
The Big Bear is going to get you for that one, Cody.
The Big Bear and his big paws.
We kind of interviewed the guy at one point this year.
Yes, Jonathan Pulskamp is. I'm not sure if Jonathan Pulskamp is the guy or not.
So,
you have any beer?
So were you just trolling
Cody
us with
needs
that
a beer,
as evidenced by my forgetting his name very briefly?
Wow.
Pulskamp.
And for the record, I liked Zendejas when he was here.
I knew it was going to be a rough one today, but I've already been fined twice, and we're not even 15 minutes in.
What's the question now?
Do we re-sign Timmy, or do we let Adrian Zendejas be our keeper?
Are either of those our keeper? Is my question.
Pulskamp is the keeper of the future. So the question comes down to, do you sign Tim, and will Tim sign for a lesser amount of money to understandably not be the guaranteed starter? Because Peter is going to put out whoever's playing the best and whoever he thinks is going to get him the win at that day. So it's not going to be like, oh, this is Pulskamp's team, we're going to let him play all the time. If he thinks Pulskamp is the better option, he'll play him. If he thinks Tim's a better option, he'll play him. So if somebody needs rest, that's obviously a change there. But so Tim needs to understand that he's not going to come in and just win the job, which I think he's smart enough to know that. He's not a dumb guy, but he's also pretty old, and just got to make sure that he's worth the amount of money that you put there.
So Tim is on $530,000 a year at 36 years old.
And if you do sign him, it better be a short-term contract.
Like 1 year.
See, keepers can play longer, right? Keepers can play into their late 30s. I don't know that a 2-year deal for $400,000, $500,000 is going to be
a one-on-one.
One with an option.
Yeah.
It's a nice insurance policy to have.
Right.
Yeah.
But is it a down year, or was it him showing age from Tim Melia this year?
Or a little bit of both.
Well, let me ask this. Was a down year from Tim better, worse, or the same than what Pulskamp did this year?
Slightly better, in my opinion.
That's a good question.
I think Pulskamp got better throughout the year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I think Tim had sections of the year where he was poor, and sections of the year he was almost normal Tim. But I think those sections keep getting bigger and more troublesome of when Tim has the poor run of form.
Yeah, but those Pulskamp errors, not commanding his box, letting the goals in near post just stand out. And he's going to learn from them.
Yeah.
But good to have an insurance policy of Tim and sign him for a year. We have a history of doing that with Espinoza. We have a history of doing that with Zuzi. Did we sign Beasler to a lower contract at some point after his big one? I don't know if we did or not, but we have a history of doing those type of things.
Yeah.
Peter Vermees does. So
right.
I would expect to see that.
At least an offer and an attempt.
Right.
I like John Pulskamp. He's 21 years old, and he made a lot of mistakes that a 21-year-old's going to make.
Sure.
So Melia has based so much of what he does on his incredible reaction time and athleticism that, that is certainly, I think, going to start to abandon him more and more. He won't be able to rely on that as heavily, and needs to probably trend more into the Jimmy Nielsen positioning. Although Jimmy was a very underrated athlete, but Tim doesn't let in some of the goals that Pulskamp let in. John had some real howlers. That's some real howlers.
Really late with that, but
Boom.
okay, sorry.
You want me to say Jimmy Nielsen again?
Yeah,
So you
say,
can do
say Jimmy
okay.
Nielsen again for me.
Jimmy Nielsen.
Boom.
Okay, sorry, go on.
My personal opinion is to bring Tim back because I still think Tim now is better than Poolskamp now.
I think it depends on which part of the season we're talking about. And considering Tim's not playing right now, I would say that's wrong. But no, I understand what you mean, though. I'm just giving you crap.
Zendejas. Oh, sorry.
Zendejas is not playing well. Very out of form.
The midfield. Where do we begin in the midfield? We kind of already got started with Roger Espinoza there. Did Roger play himself into a contract?
I don't think it's a matter of Roger playing himself into a contract. We know he can still play, albeit for lesser length in a match than he could before. But I think it's a matter of what are we going to do with Tommy, Kinda, Voltaire, Hernandez, Duke, all these other guys in the midfield. Where's space for them to get time, and to be out there doing what they do if Roger's in the mix? Yeah, there's probably space, but does that take away time from Hernandez, time from Duke, if you're going to keep Duke, et cetera? So I think that's a question with Roger.
One thing you always, when you say that, like, how are we going to get them time if this guy's here? You still have to remember Peter doesn't give people time just to get them time.
Oh, I know.
It's if he has a guy on there that could be 109 years old, but goes out and plays better than the 19-year-old, he's putting him out there.
I know. At some point, though, I think Peter even realizes you've got to play him for the future. I mean, he's done that finally getting over Sinovic. He's done that with Shelton, so maybe he's leaning a little more in that way.
I think in all cases, though, there were what he considered to be better options.
Right.
No matter what he said during the season when those players were getting time, because he didn't have the other options.
Yeah.
And I have to self-punish myself. I said Zendejas was with Minnesota. He's with Charlotte.
Ha, idiot.
Who's Jalen Lindsay with, Cody?
The new team. Where's that?
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
What I just said.
Oh, is that what I wasn't listening to you? I couldn't get Carolina out of my head. They're the colors of
That's
the
where
Carolina
Charlotte is.
on my mind.
I know, but I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't get the name out of my
But the
head.
reason I made the mistake was because it was another former SKC keeper that was with Minnesota. It was 100% Eric Dick.
So, honestly, Roger had a pretty decent year. He looked better than he had, and I think last year. I think Roger presents a tactical issue of if you've got a guy who can only go 45 minutes, and he'll go crazy. He'll go as hard as he possibly can for 45, but he's going to have to be subbed out. What does that do to you tactically?
Or opposite. I mean, don't we all agree that Voltaire, Tommy, and Kinda, assuming Kinda comes back, is going to be our starting midfield for most of the season?
Absolutely.
Do we agree with that?
Absolutely.
Tommy Kinda, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
If everybody's healthy and there's no other changes, yes.
Okay, so then Roger would be a sub unless he's playing in Gotti's, in that spot until Gotti comes back, or a spot. Yeah.
Or somebody else takes that spot. And I think Peter has realized that he has, and it's partly because he has more options right now, that he's played Roger a lot of 45 minutes or 60 minutes or 30 minutes in the last couple months because he's had the option of Tommy there. When he didn't have him, he played a lot more.
Right.
And I think he realizes that. And again, we may disagree with some of those decisions he makes, but that is the logic that he has. He has the players, and he'll sub more. If he doesn't have the players, guys stay in.
Yeah.
You said if nothing changes there, are you expecting to see some changes? I have to think he'll bring in someone new. A new face will enter the midfield before next season.
I know the most controversial decision in the midfield is probably whether or not you buy out Yuri's contract.
Yeah.
And then you bring in another six.
Then you would have to get another six, exactly.
Yeah, because there's nobody else that's really a six that's on the roster right now. There's nobody that's at SKC2 that's coming up to be that six. So even if it's not, a lot of people will say Voltaire is not a good enough six. I'm okay with him being the six. Again, it's that chain reaction, and it's the whole 11 that's out there. It's not one individual player, whether they're good enough. It's how they fit in with the rest.
Yeah.
If you have Tommy and Kinda in front of them and fast guys on the side and all that stuff, I think Voltaire is quite serviceable 6 and can take the team into the playoffs and do some damage. I don't know if they're cup winners. We've had that discussion on other spots, but
I also think that Vermees is very particular about that position.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, Yuri's got to go, right? I think Yuri has to go. But and then I think from there, I think he would be looking to find someone that would at least push Voltaire out of that spot or, challenge him for it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, it goes back to our center back discussion a little bit. Why is Uri there in the first place? Because he can pass well. At least that was the theory.
At least that was.
So we need that guy who can break lines, who can play, balls that find those forwards, consistently.
The reason Yuri is there is he was a cheap backup to
right, but he also
Jose
did
Maury,
at one time have that quality.
Oh, Jose Maury always gets me.
We're gonna blame everything on that.
It
damn
just
guy.
shoots deep within me every time I hear that name.
And he's still. Last time I checked, he didn't have a team still.
Yeah, I never knew if he was any good. I don't think any of us knew if he's any good anyway.
Hey, talk trash on us though.
Okay, I think we covered the midfield well enough.
Is there a controversial decision at the forward line?
Well, so Felipe is also out of contract.
You got to bring him back, right? I think Duke's a question personally. But
Duke has an option.
How much? Felipe wouldn't be expensive, right?
Felipe was on $85,000 a year this past year. This season he was on
That's fine.
$85,000.
Bring him back.
Quite honestly, he should go up to a couple $100,000 at least.
I thought Felipe's had a really nice season.
Yeah,
he's progressing
After sitting out a year.
half a year.
Yeah.
Half a year.
It was like July 4th weekend last year.
So then the question, would you pick up Cam Duke's option?
Yeah, he's got to be fairly cheap.
93.
Yeah, sure. Sign him up. Let's go.
Yeah.
You think he's progressed enough?
Well, no,
Was he 21?
I actually said multiple times on here that I wanted more progression from almost all of these play the kids this season.
What about some of the decisions he made on the field this year?
Are you referencing like major decisions that I should be
Well, the red card
knowing? Yeah.
for one.
But then,
He saw
Pulskamp
his time lessen after that for sure.
Pulskamp got the pass for being 21. Can those guys? And if you're gonna say that about Duke, then we've talked about Felipe's shithousery every now and then as well. I know
Right,
I don't think he got a red card for one, but
And also
slapping the keeper on the back of the head that one time, that should have been a red
he
card.
rubbed his head gently. He rubbed him gently.
It was in
I'll drop that one.
sympathy and empathy for the poor keeper's situation. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Why are you such a Felipe hater?
I'm not.
Yeah, we're moving on from
I guess
goalies
I
to,
need to lean
to
into
Felipe's. Cam Duke had 5 yellows and a red in 1,200 minutes. Roger had
11 yellows.
11 yellows and a red in 1,700 minutes.
There we go.
Set a career high in yellows.
There's Rogers'
The
replacement.
thing
We
with
found
Duke
him.
is he goes backward too much with the ball, I think. And we have seen a history of Sporting moving on from players who may be young and on small contracts, but they just aren't in their plans. Or they haven't progressed enough for whatever reason.
That's true.
So, I mean,
think a lot of that,
he
those-
might be the expendable guy in the midfield if that's what they're going to do, because he's going to be played behind, Tommy and Kinda in a sense, right? Because he's kind of more of the attacking, or is he not? Am I seeing that wrong? Seeing that
he
wrong.
probably is.
I mean, we've never really seen him at the 6, I don't think so.
Right, yeah.
But he is kind of a utility player in that he can play outside back.
He can.
Play a winger. He can play a midfielder. I mean, he can play a,
He did that for a
He's
team
Jimmy.
that was suffering injuries and age too, though. So.
No, I know. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that that's his
Right.
his
Yeah.
main thing, but that's
That
just
sounds-
it. Is you
that
can have
sounds
him on the
worth, That sounds worth $95,000 for next year.
and even if he's not progressing greatly, he's a off the bench sub when you have shorthanded or massive injuries or
We'll see.
and again, we don't see him in practice all the time because I've seen him get yelled at in practice, but he could. We just don't know where he's at. But as for if we're just looking at the price and what he's done on the field, I say we take the option and keep going and see how he does.
What is this? His third, fourth season with us? Third? Okay. Just curious.
I don't have it pulled up in front of me.
Right.
I don't have that computer.
Maybe only second. I don't know.
All right, now to the
That
forward line.
segment really trailed out there.
Yeah, it's his 3rd season.
Third. This was okay.
Yeah, but also certainly the most. Double the minutes he'd previously played.
Right.
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool. It helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/pixelnba. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
The front line. Ugh. That's
Is there any
good way
controversial
to start
decisions
that
there?
one.
No, not at all. No, none. Okay.
Conversation done, right?
Yeah.
Don't need to talk
All right.
about that anymore.
First of all, let's talk about our boy Kyrie. What should the team do, and what will the team do?
I have no idea what that wave meant. We didn't
Bye-bye.
discuss what that meant. Oh, okay.
Oh.
I thought you were waving.
Nope.
Don't pass
Bye-bye.
this to me. Is what I took.
Our
it as.
podcast sign language is not very good.
What did everyone else take that wave as from Robert? What did he mean by that wave? When
Call
you
on
first saw
Robert.
that?
No,
No, I
Call
took
on-
it as
I'll
don't
take
call
it.
on me.
Oh.
I took it as
bye-bye.
don't call on me.
See, that's why it was too ambiguous because
Should be
I
more of
took it
this.
as like, yeah, here, ooh, 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 ooh. You know, he was doing a silent Horseshack treatment there.
Ooh, Mr. Cut. Only certain people in our audience will get that. Anyway,
So,
Go look at it.
Cody,
yourself.
Kyrie is 29 years old. He makes $350,000 a year. What should we do? What will we do?
We're looking at you,
Yeah, I
Cody.
mean Kyrie's got to go. I'm not gonna do that to myself in my Twitter mentions and say right now that we should
At
keep Kyrie.
that Cody.
No,
THO.
I was yeah. There's someone else out there for cheaper. There's someone else out there that could score goals for 90,000. Someone in USL that could score more goals than that.
Yeah, there's actually been a couple guys in USL that we should have picked up, but we didn't. Anyway, he goes because it's going to be best for him.
I agree with that.
If he wants
And
to
the
keep
team.
playing, I mean, he could turn around, man. People have bad seasons. I mean, Shallowy went, year and a half not scoring anything. right?
Someone in Major League Soccer will pay him to play on their team next year.
Probably USL. But if he goes down there and dominates and scores, then he pops back up with an expansion team,
Right.
and that's quite all right. And I
St.
wish him
Louis can
well.
have him.
Look, he's a guy that you get what you get from him when he's at his best. I mean, we went for a couple years talking about how he helped other people be better on the field. He didn't score a lot, but he helped other people be better on the field. Does that mean he's going to all of a sudden turn around and start scoring goals? No, he's not. When you have a guy like Polito who can do much of what he does, assuming Polito comes back, when you have a guy like Willie who scores and does some of what Shelton does, you still need another center forward option because we don't know what Polito's at. But I think for Kyrie's mental health, he should go somewhere else.
I agree. And he was miscast or forced into a situation that wasn't him. He's not a center forward. He's a winger.
Well, he
That's
was a
his
center
best
forward at
position.
one point in his life.
Right, but
That was a different
not
level.
right. Yeah.
And again, I think he can be useful at the center forward position as long as you have the team around him that's the right team. But when he's not at his best, and he's not been at his best this year. And I think a lot of it is mental. But
yeah,
we don't need to debate whether he can be a center forward or not because right now he's just played so poorly that, and at the end of his contract, you might as well just let him go somewhere else and wish him really well.
Yep.
Is that their only controversial one up front? I mean, they're like, shall we just
David
sign?
is
Shall we-
formulating thoughts.
Shallowy just re-signed. Johnny's got at least another year.
Yeah. Janice is new. He's got a couple years left.
And
Willie's got a couple years.
Right. So then the conversation we had last week about Polito, and I think for all the reasons we talked about last week, and if you haven't listened to that one, thanks for listening to this one. Go back and listen to last week's pod. I think, Polito comes back. So really the only question is, what do we do with Kyrie? And if, I think you can find somebody at replacement level to play on the wing.
A zero war player. Like
essentially,
baseball.
yeah. I mean, essentially, right. Like you could find somebody in the league for, $90,000, $100,000. Vancouver picked up Brian White off the scrap heap, and he became like a huge contributor to their team, making the playoff run last year. And he was a cast off from Red Bull.
How's he doing this year?
Probably, I think, fell off. But it's Vancouver.
A cast off from the Red Bull. Good job. Said the name, the singular Red Bull.
That's right.
There's only one.
I don't think the brand even knows about that. They go back and forth sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard people discuss that, and I don't know what the
It
right
really
answer would
bothers
be.
me.
So
As a marketer and as a brand manager, it really bothers me.
For as bad as Brian White was this year, in about the same number of minutes, he's scored 4 goals and has 1 assist to Kyrie's 1 goal.
2 if you count Open Cup.
Oh, well, he is the Open Cup assassin. That's right. But 1 goal, 1 assist in league play.
So are we going to talk about needs, or have we already followed that number 6 and a center back?
I think we did cover that. Is there a need on this team that we have not discovered yet? Do we need reinforcements on the front line? There we go. We didn't really talk about the front line.
Yes.
Where? Right wing.
Versatile. I mean, I think Giannis can play both sides of the wing, so it's. Yeah, and I feel like he'll come back stronger this year. I mean, he'll come in stronger because he'll have a training camp and be used to the system at that point, and
better.
He'll be more competitive for some of those spots.
I think Daniel needs competition because I think Daniel will thrive with competition, but he needs to earn the spot. And I think we need somebody to back up Johnny on a regular basis because he's going to be 33 next season. And it's not an effort thing with him. It's not even a mental thing with him, but it's that at some point the wheels are going to fall off.
You know, a lot of people talk about how Tommy can play out in the wing, but gosh, he's just so good in the midfield. I'm sure he could, but he's just so good in the midfield. I just would like to keep him there. And then people say Agata out wide, and I'm like,
no,
I don't think so. I don't think his game would translate out wide. I think he's good in the middle.
I think he's better in the middle. Watching him play, he's been out wide sometimes, and he looks good there. Tommy looks really good out there, quite honestly, because there's.
Well, it's because he's cutting in too.
Yeah,
no, he's not.
But he's like he's out wide, and him and Chaloui are like occupying the same space at times, and can be a problem.
It's by design, though.
It can be a problem, and it can also be a benefit if they have good chemistry and understand each other.
Yeah.
Do we pick up Cave Red's option?
Why are you going back there?
Because I'm just now getting to that on the article that you guys should all read on
thorough.
thebluetestament.com. I think the single biggest need that this team has is the 6.
Yeah, I think we decided our wish list is a center back, a 6, and a winger.
Primary being which one?
6.
Center back.
Yeah, I say center back too.
Everything.
Okay, depth at the 6 are we talking, or are we talking a starter at the 6?
A starter.
Okay, so you're going to put Voltaire back at an 8?
Yeah. I mean,
Voltaire will get time elsewhere, and then at the 6, and yeah, he'll get on the field.
Again, I think competition's important. And is next year when the Leagues Cup starts up, or we're just going to pause the season?
Yeah.
There's going to be more games. But this team, the way that Vermes plays, needs a strong number 6. That's why we were really good when Yuri was here in 2013. It's why when we were finishing first in the West with Elie, was because this team needs somebody who can provide some cover for the center backs and who can be a progressive passer. And it also affects us tactically. One of the things that Elie used to do was drop between the center backs, and it allowed Beasler and Opar to kind of spray out wide. It allows us to put the fullbacks higher up the pitch to play into the attack. We're not doing that as much with Remy. We don't do that at all with Yuri. So it changes, depending on who you have, it changes how the team plays tactically. But when we were at our tactical best was when we had an elite best 11 number 6.
Team has also won a cup with Lawrence Olam at the 6, so it just depends on who you have and who you play.
9 iterations of MLS ago.
Right.
Lawrence Olam,
I don't
what a
want
vibe.
9, but
Would Lawrence Olam play for a single team in the league right now?
He's old.
Lawrence Olam at his best.
He's retired.
2012 Lawrence Olam, does he make a single roster in this league?
Yes.
Does he start?
He wasn't supposed to start then. There was injuries, man.
Okay, so I find it a little bit interesting that so much talk about the center backs, but then we choose a number 6 as our biggest need.
I
A
didn't.
little bit interesting. You didn't. Okay, then what are your thoughts?
I said center back.
I said center back.
And
why, guys?
I would like a 6, but I'm okay with it being depth competition for 6, not the elite 6, because quite honestly, if we look at the last couple months, it wasn't because we got a new 6. It was because we got a new 10 and a new 9 that we all of a sudden started playing good. So he's a serviceable 6 in this league. And Sporting played well against teams. They beat teams. They scored goals. It had nothing to do, and they didn't give up a ton of goals in that period of time. It was because everything in front of the 6 was better because of those 2 players.
Okay, so Cody's probably not happy with the fact that this has run so long. Maybe it is, I don't know. But let me throw this out. The game we lost 4-3 at Austin. What was the other game? We had the lead and we ended up drawing. Where was that?
Galaxy.
Okay, so where were the problems there? Was it at the 6? Was it at the center back? We still have those issues.
So without going back and looking, because I'm trying to go off of memory,
Yeah.
one of those goals was because a rather old guy who had not played a lot this year was on left back and kept a guy on side that should not have been.
Yeah.
That was at least one of those goals.
Yeah.
I believe there might have been one where a center back had let somebody jump over top of him, but that I could be confusing that with another game without going back and looking at that.
Yeah.
So seriously, I would have to go back and look to be confident of this.
Sure.
But that was on the road at a team who's playing really, really well right now and had not lost there. So
Yeah.
To say what's the problem in that particular area, I know one of those was because, again, poor Ben Sweat. I mean, I'm not trying to hammer on him like a lot of people do, but he did not get back. He did not get up far enough, and that guy was on and he scored. I don't remember what it was.
I just bring that up because I think we need to look at that and see where our issues still lie in those type of situations.
And did maybe Yuri sub into that game also? That's not
one of them, I think.
Yeah, so that could be a contributor of 2 goals.
So my other thing is actually a non-player acquisition that I think we need to make, which is a set piece coach, because we're not scoring a ton off of our set pieces when we're taking them, and we are giving up just an ungodly number of open looks.
Courtney
That's why
Ford
I
scored
wanna-
on a set piece.
That's the driving factor behind my reasoning for wanting a center back. We need a big bruiser. We need a guy that's going to head the ball. It'll help on the offensive end, on the defensive end. We need that
for
guy.
a while.
I want a set piece coach.
That's going to become the new DP striker, the mythical DP striker that Sporting Kansas City can never get. We can never get the big bruising center back that can score goals with his head.
I'm not arguing, man. I mean, I'm like a modern day Ike or
Even
Colin.
Ike but like Ike did it a couple times, but even him, I always felt like he should have scored more. Even that he was playing during the era where we never seemed to score during set pieces and corner
Hey,
kicks.
he scored a bicycle.
I think we tend to look at, we don't recognize how many times we do score off of set pieces, corner kicks.
Yes, we have talked about many times we score off second chances, but I'm talking cross the ball into the big center back and have him head the ball in the back of the net.
Reeling Colin MLS Cup 2013. That's what Cody wants every night.
I'm referring to, we just mentioned Eichel Parr. Remember that time when they were playing in New York and Matt Biesler would do the long throw-ins, and it was the skinny little field in New York, and he just launched a throw-in in there, and it was the most perfect corner kick ever, and Ike headed it in, and I don't think we've done that since.
In all of this argument with you, I agree that set piece coach would be great. I think it's really helped the U.S. men's national team because I heard they hired one.
Cody's point is coach doesn't do much difference if you don't have the personnel.
Yeah.
The U.S. national team. Let's talk about how they dropped the ball today.
Okay, we can go to the Yanks.
It was atrocious. It's the second.
Oh, wait a minute! You're calling the game before that. What would you use term wise for that game?
I don't think that word
This
exists
is
in the
atrocious.
English language.
Okay.
we are of course referring to the U.S. men's national team playing 2 tune-ups, one against Japan, one against Saudi Arabia today. Neither looked good at all. Thad, you seem to think today was better.
It was better than the Japan game, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't lose.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I mean, yeah, they didn't lose. They didn't lose.
All right, that's we're gonna win the World Cup with that. They didn't lose.
Did you think we were going to win the World Cup with this team anyway at this point?
Yeah, sometimes I do think that.
There are times that they look really good. They have not played well away from home in general the last couple of years with qualifying, but I mean, it is tough to do away from home in all the CONCACAF places. But
I have a soccer hating uncle who told me that America will never win the World Cup until all of our kids are playing soccer in the streets on a regular basis. And yesterday, while on a walk with my dog, I saw two young boys kicking a little like a crab apple or something on the ground. And it was just like, oh my gosh, two young American kids just making do with what they have, playing the beautiful game. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to win the World Cup.
did you video it?
My uncle was right, and it is happening now, and we're going to win the World Cup. So yes, I can talk myself into it.
How old were they?
Oh, we're talking, 8 or 9, 10.
Okay,
maybe.
so we're
I'm
talking
bad
like
at that.
3 World Cups from now they'll contribute.
Yes, from their days of kicking the crab apple. It wasn't a crab apple. That was the only thing I could get out of my mouth. Trees just drop random little green balls sometimes. I don't know.
Okay.
Crab apple is what I'm going with.
Okay.
Anyway, we're going to win the World Cup.
So
Eventually.
who knows if the form in these two tune-ups really affects anything or means anything going into the run-up. England has also not been playing particularly well. They're in our group. They drew with Germany yesterday, 3-3, but they got relegated from their group in the Nations League.
They scored goals, though.
They did score goals, but
It was exciting,
our
but they
whole
didn't stop
group-
people from scoring goals.
Our whole group did terrible the whole window. Both games, all teams.
except for Iran.
Yes, Iran did.
Who did they play?
Iran beat Uruguay 1-0 and then drew with Senegal 1-1. And Senegal's very legit. They actually scored both goals that game, too.
I always like when teams do that.
So, I mean, nobody in this group is playing well in the run-up. Gareth Bale and Wales got relegated from the Nations League group that they were in.
By Ukraine.
Yes, which, I mean, I think we're all on Team Ukraine right now, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Pulisic got hurt again.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
In training.
Oh, okay.
But he played today.
And
He played today,
Gio Reyna went off in the 30th minute.
With
Yeah.
tightness.
Right, yeah.
Because that's what you want to claim is your problem is I'm tight.
Our players are glass, man.
And that is actually one of the biggest issue with the U.S. national team is they are all freaking
All of
fragile.
our best players. Pulisic, McKinney, Reyna.
Yeah.
Literally all of them.
You can, because one of the complaints I heard
Adams.
somebody saying is like, oh, we didn't have our best team out there. Well, nobody has their best team out there at all the points, but damn, these guys are so fragile, man.
And so everyone after these two games is worried, we're not going to make it out of the group. I have been trying to say this out loud so people are like prepared for it. I've been scared of this group like since it came out and the schedule came out. Because if you look at this, the first game, if that first game doesn't go right and we don't beat Wales, like the next two games might just be for fun, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
Like how quickly all of this buildup could just smack us all in the face is really painful. This first game, just imagine, like, we come out, the ball's rolling, we're dominating, we're all over Wales. Greg Berhalter's figured out a way that Gareth Bale's not doing anything. Garrett is not doing anything. And then it's 78th minute, it's still 0-0, and then someone crosses in a ball and it hits a trailing hand and they get a PK and we lose to the Wales. And then we lose to England, and then a win against Iran would do nothing.
I mean, the whole group is hard. England has the most elite. I mean, some of the most elite guys in the world. Iran is a really strong side.
I'm trying to not sleep on them.
They're a really strong side, and Wales has Gareth Bale, who's one of the 10 best players in the world when he doesn't have a blown out hammy. They've got some really legit guys. It's a
When he
hard
decides
group.
to put out effort.
Yeah, which he does for Wales and on the golf course.
We might end up rooting for Iran to play spoiler against one of these other teams. They might end up helping us if we don't get that win against Wales.
Yeah, this is very much a group that the U.S. can beat all three teams, and they could lose to all three teams.
Yeah,
and it could go either way really easily.
I feel like that's just how you can talk about the U.S. that way at all. Like, I almost feel like that with them. You could put any three teams up there, and it's like, wow, they could beat them, or they could definitely do absolutely nothing.
My fear is, assuming that they're healthy going into the tournament, Pulisic and Reyna are going to make the squad, but they're both often injured. And I'm remembering back to 2014 when Josie Altidore popped a hammy against Ghana in the 12th minute or something, and it fundamentally changed the entire tournament.
Yes.
Right.
So who slots in and who scores those goals? Because everybody keeps asking who's going to be the number 9 for this team, because we don't have anybody in the player pool who wants to play the 9 and score goals. But
Gary Shelton.
Christ.
Good God.
But, if we're talking about Pepe and Ferreira and, Josh Sargent all trying to fight for that number 9 spot. But who subs in if Pulisic gets hurt? Who subs in if Reyna gets hurt? Who are we going to start? I guess Brendan Aronson, who's been playing well for Leeds. He's good. But, is Paul Areola making
that's who, he's next up after probably both of those players.
Right. That's how you finish last in your group.
And we still have Weah out there who's
I don't
hurt
want
right
to hate
now.
on Paul Areola too much.
Yes, Thad, you're right.
Paul Areola is not bad.
And the only reason I say that is because it's he seems to me to embody what this team lost.
Yes.
Through so many years of maybe Jurgen years of that, the hard-nosed, hard to beat, will run until they die kind of players, and he can do that. He can frustrate the other team. Tyler Adams is a little bit that guy as well. So Areola off the bench, hell yeah.
Yeah, to close out games and stuff like that. I don't necessarily want him starting unless it's just a game that you don't care about at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we still have Weah out there. I don't know what his injury status is.
Another injury guy.
Yeah, not quite as much as Pulisic, but yeah. I could be wrong. You have, but in the forwards too, you still why did they not call him PFOC? I know it's he's not this guy to play our system. Yeah, he scores goals. That's not the system.
He's banging in goals in the Bundesliga.
I know.
He's scoring.
For a mediocre team that's at the top of the table, or they were a week or two ago.
I will be disappointed if he's not on the the plane.
He's not. I mean, unless somebody goes in and twists Greg's arm.
Yeah.
Now, so it's easy to be negative on this team. So I'm going to try to be positive. So I'm going to play that side of it for the moment. I believe I saw the stat today that they lost their last tune-up game in early 2000s, and that's the one they went to the quarterfinals. So losing and not playing well in those early games or those tune-up games don't necessarily reflect how you will do in the World Cup. Also, a lot of what I saw in the last 2 games was effort, caring. It wasn't that. I think they were trying to play a system against Japan. Japan read it, and they didn't make any changes. Well, maybe you don't want to make changes because that gives away what you're going to do next, right? Yes, the Wales coach was in the stadium today writing notes down. Everybody's going to look at that Japan game, and they knew exactly what they were going to do every time. But you don't want to necessarily give away everything you can do. So that I'm okay with that a little bit. But a lot of it just seemed to be they knew it was not important. The games that have been important in the qualifying, they have mostly stepped up. There's been a couple when they didn't do it in qualifying. But you had guys like Pulisic score goals. You had guys like Gio score goals. You had some of the guys who are rumored to be number 9s score goals. Not a lot of them, but so you had Weston score goals. You had Musa, who's also not there. You have, I'm not sure how to say his name, but Malik Tillman, who is now there and looking decent. I mean, I think he needs to get used to him better. But
Malik? Is that how I've always said that? Malik? Anyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not good with pronunciations.
Right.
So a little bit of optimism is that they have the ability to turn this around and be better than what they were in these 2 games because they were not important. They didn't matter. I mean, that's like judging Sporting in a friendly against some team that they knew that they weren't going to care about in Leagues Cup or something. They put out the worst lineup possible.
That would never happen.
And then got Ozzy hurt.
Can we also real briefly, though, talk about how ugly these kits are?
Yeah.
Just give me the hoops. Just give me the Waldos.
Especially up next to the 2 really cool jerseys today from Saudi Arabia. It doesn't take a lot. There's just some subtle design in the background of the white.
Just give me the Waldos. Why is it so hard? Give me the Waldos.
I am all the way team Waldo. Waldo till I die. That should be our La Albi Celeste. That should be our Brazil yellow and blue. Should be it.
Completely agree. I mean, there's enough iconic U.S. kits out there that they could have chose one of a couple or 3 or 4 or 5, but no, they went with the
Bomb
worst
Pop.
possible way.
The Bomb Pop also would have been another great
And I
choice.
hated that one, but it would still at least be iconic.
Yeah.
There's been sashes that looked good. There's been
Oh, the sash. Oh, yeah, for sure.
you know
Yeah.
the semi hoop flaggy kind of looking one, or not hoop but bars, I guess. Any of those
The
were
denim
better than
kits.
this
I
crap.
mean, come on. There's just been
I
some.
know. I would buy one of those. So my personal mantra for this World Cup is I'm going to try to have fun watching the team. I'm absolutely not going to buy any Nike gear unless the team wins the World Cup. That's the only way I will buy any Nike gear, and I am going to do everything I can to not mention the country they play in unless I say that the slave-owning Qatarians, I'm not sure how, it's Qataris?
Qataris. I don't Qataris, that sounds
The slave-owning bastards in that country that kill people and do that, and are now conscripting people to be in their security forces.
Oh, that's happening now too?
It's what I heard on the radio today, so I have not seen an article on it, but that's what I heard on the radio on Sirius Satellite Radio, so I will think that they were going to be pretty accurate.
So I just wanted we should update the number of deaths every single time that we talk about this on this podcast. And in February 23rd, it was 6,500 was the estimate.
Yes. For a FIFA bribe is why these people died. And it was one thing when you played it in Russia or South Africa or Brazil, where, I mean, Brazil doesn't really need to grow the game, but maybe it grew a little bit more because they built stadiums out in the boonies, whatever. In Russia, you could at least say that it would help grow the game there, but right now they can't really be good because they're in an unjust war against Ukraine. And there's all these things but there's not going to be a great domestic league in Qatar.
No, and the stadiums will go unused after this is done. Like it really is gross. I'm very conflicted about all of this. I don't know how I can not talk about the U.S. playing in a World Cup, but yes, I think we just need, like you said, we just need to make sure to remind everyone this entire time about it.
I hope that when it's going on, we meet regularly to discuss the games, that the U.S. is doing well or not or whatever. I mean, I really do want to talk about the U.S. national team because it's not their fault the game is there. But FIFA, we know you have had your problems in the past and probably will in the future, and the place it's being played at, the place it was played at before that, should never have happened. And we should hold them to that standard and completely always tie the bad part to their name.
Speaking of having fun watching soccer.
That was my high note, wasn't it?
There you go.
The Kansas City Current have made the playoffs in their inaugural season.
No. It's the second year.
They did have this team, that team name last year. Okay, well, it's still impressive.
Is that another fine?
Third or fourth of the night.
Can my kids go to college on Cody's fines tonight?
What did I?
Mine's there now. I need the money more
What's
than
the
you do.
tweet that I saw that confused me on that? I'll have to go find that. I'm going to blame the internet on that one. I read the internet wrong.
Well, the current name wasn't actually brought out until the end of the last season, very end.
Wait, that is, yes. That is what I read. I think that's the tweet because they wore jerseys in the final game, right? They put on jerseys that said the Current
in the second half of the final game.
In the second half of the
They
final
announced
game.
it at the halftime.
So there you go. That's the Current.
But it's not the inaugural season for the team.
Okay.
I
I
mean,
did admittedly
this
still
is-
read the internet wrong, but I'm holding to that intro there. The Current made the playoffs in the first year the Current
This
existed.
is not the 12th year of Sporting Kansas City.
The Current are in the playoffs the first year the Current existed. I've amended my opening statement and it
They existed
and it
last
remains
year.
true.
Wrong. Yeah, it's still wrong.
The Kansas City Current, formerly KC WOSO or KC
Yes.
NWSL,
Yes.
in their second year of being back in Kansas City,
And their first year with the team name of Current.
second year of having the team name Current.
No, it's not.
They took the field with kits that said Casey Current on them.
That was a prop in the second half. We've already established that. So in the 45 minutes
They
of the final
changed
game,
their name
it
at
was a
that
prop.
moment. the website was different.
But
They
still,
changed their name.
but this is still the first season. They didn't play a season like that. I'm gonna win this. I'm like a dog with a bone.
Okay. Well, so there's one match left in the season. They play Racing Louisville, who's towards the bottom of the table, right?
Yes, they're out.
Right. They're currently in 10th out of 12. Current are sitting in third with 36 points. They're one behind the Reign at 37 and two behind the Thorns, who are leading the league with 38 points, both of which are also playing teams that are out of the playoffs.
Yes. The Current could finish anywhere from 1st to 5th, depending on results.
Yes, that's a good decision day.
Except it's not a decision day.
No.
The games are split over 3 days.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So much for that.
And actually, that was like one of the complaints that one of the
Yeah.
women's soccer writers complained about is like, oh, the league's been around for this long and they still don't have a decision day. It's actually pretty hard to do a decision day, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Very few of them are in places where they control their stadiums and can say, this is our
Right.
date, get out. And then I don't know if they have enough referees to do all of them at the same time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't even consider
And,
that.
and broadcast teams, because they have generic, centrally located broadcast teams, which
Yeah.
but speaking of broadcast teams, the play-by-play announcer for the last Current game was our friend Allie Trost Martin.
Allie got a play-by-play gig, huh?
Yeah,
I missed that.
so go to Paramount Plus and you can replay it.
So, Thad, what is, in your mind, the best-case scenario for the Current in this last game and seeding in the playoffs?
I think they probably finish third. I think probably Portland and Reign get their wins. I think the Current gets a win or a draw at Racing Louisville.
Third
Have
gets
a-
us a home playoff soccer, right?
It gets one home playoff game.
Do you have a preferred opponent?
No, anybody there right now is tough. They really are, most all of them playing good right now. So
And it's hard to be playing any better than the Current, though, over the last, months.
because what they had 13 games unbeaten, which was 9 wins and 4 ties. Then they lost
3
one in
months-ish.
Chicago, and now they had a tie, and then this win, it was a 3-0 win. And the thing that Willie Agata brought to Sporting was joy and happiness, and looked everything as upbeat. Them playing this last weekend against the Washington Spirit was joy, happiness. There was 5 goals scored, only 3 of them counted, since the other 2 were technically offside, but at least in theory. And there was 3 good goal celebrations. Lola Banta had a new one. Cece Kaiser had one. And then Clara Lavoisier had a unique one also.
But Potter pays no attention to those.
No. We did ask actually Roger today about that too. So he's like, yeah, I don't have any input in that. He goes, I have no creativity. That's all low. I said, could she, create one for you? So when you sell, and he declined.
When you don't drive one over the bar.
Yeah, when it doesn't go 10 feet over.
He got goal of the year at the Pitch Black.
We didn't talk about that. Yeah, but let's finish up with the Current here. So, all right, playoffs begin when?
Stumped him.
Let's see. The second round would be the
there's-
weekend of the 22nd, 23rd. So it was the weekend before that. So
Yeah, there's got to be a week off after the season, and then
yeah.
and then the first round, and
So
then,
October 16th
right.
are the first round of games. October 23rd is the semifinals, and the cup final is October 30th.
Yeah, except I know one place says the 23rd, but other places say the 22nd and 23rd. So
So that's pretty quick. Okay.
I'm ready for some playoff
and then
soccer.
and then the final in DC. So
The format is what? Just one match?
Yep.
Okay. I assumed.
So I would say high probability they get a home game on the weekend of the 22nd, 23rd. But we shall see.
Is there anybody in particular you're hoping we match up with?
No. Like I said earlier, they're all good at this point.
I would love for us to knock out the Reign. I would love for Sporting to win this weekend against Seattle, and then for the Current to knock out the Reign, and then to traipse over to Sounder at Heart and just drink in all the tears.
And then beat Thorns in the final?
No, I want them to go out early. The Pacific Northwest doesn't deserve it.
Oh, that's what I mean. Current to beat the Thorns in the final.
I want them to go out earlier.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Portland's more of the evil empire than the Raynar in this case. But
All right, I say we end this before I get fined any more money. How much money do I owe? I feel like it's a
I don't know if we have a standard.
accumulated.
Where's the
What's
fine
tuition
jar
this year?
anyway? That
How much are
hasn't been
books?
around.
Go Sporting!
Go Cincinnati.
Don't seem so tough. And 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Some punter strong and ball comes off. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this foot